Live tonight from the virtual Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the penultimate round of the 2022 Real Sim Racing Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. It is a under the lights short track night here on RaceSpotTV, and we're happy that you're with us as always alongside our producer Hugo Luis downstairs, Nick Amara, and myself, Evan Pasoko, on the call. Nick, good to have you out of the driver's seat and upstairs. And as a driver, I'm sure you're very aware of what all these drivers are thinking about coming into this race. We're getting down to crunch time. Just 2 races left to go until we crown a champion, and a very volatile racetrack which had its fair share of drama last season.
Yeah, then someone who was just on the track about an hour ago thinking he was going to be in this race, I can tell you that there's going to be a lot of cause for concern for some of the guys going for the championship tonight. This track at IRP is just, you're running right up against the wall. Really easy to make a mistake. If you go just a little bit over the line, you could be in real trouble and ruin your day and several others very, very early on tonight.
Well, the big story, of course, is the championship, and it was last week at Talladega where fate took another twist. It was that race where everybody thought it was going to be make or break, and Andrew Freenosh was in a very good position to gain points in the championship. Let's talk about that finish as well. Amid Agadil, Phillip by 4/1000ths of a second to take home that win, Nick, and one of the best finishes we've seen in a while.
You know, Agnell, he's almost like a ringer here for the Winter Series. He comes in, just runs one race, and maybe has the most exciting finish of the year. So, really exciting race last week. Let's carry some of that momentum this week and have another good finish up.
He's 1 for 1, and of course, Freenosh ended up blowing his engine late in that race that allowed Michael Araya to close the championship gap down to 13 points. It's the closest this title fight has been since round 2. Liam Sheen is right there as well, 17 points back in third. It's at a big jump to Ross Cato minus 33 and Cody Harris minus 47, but the window certainly, Nick, is open. However, we're expecting a strong performance out of Andrew Freenosh tonight.
Well, when you think of, mile and shorter flat tracks, you think of Freenosh. You probably think of him at post any track. For Laraya, he's been consistent all year. He's known for his consistency, but now is the time to step it up. He's probably going to have to win today, definitely finish ahead of Andrew, so it'll be fun to see if he can do that and step up a little bit here in these last couple of races.
And of course, we talk about IRP as it's known. I guess the full name, Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, one of the premier short tracks in the country, constructed in the late 1950s. It opened in 1960. This facility includes a quarter-mile drag strip that's home to the NHRA Nationals every Labor Day weekend, a 2.5-mile road course, and of course, is not that far down the hall from the famed Brickyard. But this racetrack in itself is a very unique challenge. I talk about it being a tumultuous place to visit. It's just a little bit above 0.6 of a mile in length, so tonight's 150 laps will mean we'll go racing for 103 miles this evening. But as you mentioned, it's not really those aspects. It's the banking and combined with the radius of the corners, Nick, that's going to push everybody up against the fence, and that is where things become tricky, right? We see it at some big tracks. At Kansas, you used to see that a lot, but certainly on the short tracks, the outside on the wall is not normally the place you get around a small place like this.
Exactly right. As we see the 67 there showing us live time just how hard it is. What a save, by the way. This track is going to be very hard to complete passes. I think we probably talk about it almost every week. But when you run the outside, it's going to be so difficult for that car on the bottom to be able to complete a pass. So it's going to be all about track position, and these 5 minutes of qualifying here could set the tone for the championship and, without a doubt, this race as well.
And we previewed it at the end of last week by mentioning that the last time we were here at Lucas Oil Raceway, Andrew Freenosh took home the checkered flag in the 2021 iteration of this Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. He led a race high 95 of 150 laps. That race saw 5 different leaders, 7 lead changes, but 13 cautions. So nearly half of the laps last year, Nick, were run under yellow. Now, it was the first time that we had seen Lucas Oil Raceway on this calendar in an RSR sanctioned event in quite some time. So do you think the familiarity for some of the drivers who raced last year will mean tonight's a bit cleaner than what we saw a year ago? Or is this track just a little bit too tricky and it could be a bit of a wild one?
Well, I guess for the broadcast's sake, let's hope for maybe a little bit of last year with maybe a little more green flag running. I think that one of the challenges to Lucas Oil Raceway is that iRacing doesn't really, they were not racing at Lucas Oil the last week, like maybe for the Cup Series if we follow the exact schedule. This is a little different. So this is going to be the first time that a lot of these cars, as you see William Schmidt, hard into the inside wall. But a lot of these guys are going to be racing around cars maybe for the first time at Lucas Oil Raceway in several months. So that just is a recipe for maybe a little more contact, a little more aggression than you normally would see because they don't know the limits of a car on the outside or the inside.
Just watching the end of our qualifying session. Looks like the magic number going to be 30 tonight, so no drivers, fortunately, going to be sent home. Everybody's going to stay in this one and able to compete for the race win here this afternoon. Worth noting that, of course, this championship comes to a conclusion next Monday night. Andrew Freenosh has a chance to mathematically lock things up if he has a good run tonight, and Lariah and Sheen struggle. But most, I think, likely scenario is that this is going to go all the way down to the season finale next Monday night, January the 24th, from the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That race, as always, will have a 9 p.m. Eastern Time start here on RaceSpotTV. And then, of course, before we know it, Cup Series is going to be rolling around as the calendar turns into February. We'll talk about qualifying times in just a few moments, but no surprise, the big names are all at the top of the board, so it should be a great show here this afternoon. There's always questions on if Andrew Freenosh can compete, can confirm that he is in the field, but a big storyline I think to talk about before we even get into things too deep here is that I do not believe Liam Sheen is on the grid. Third in the championship into tonight, he is not here. Let's go trackside, get this one underway with a look at our SimSpeed Shop starting grid. Pole position does go to your championship leader, Andrew Freenosh. He will bring us to the green flag tonight, alongside the 67 of Connor Horn. Alan Belancio and Michael Johnson going to make up row 2. It's Cody Harris and Kevin King, the top 6.
Brandon 6 for Keeping It Real Esports in 7th. Jared Winemaster in 8th. Row 5, Joseph Tice and William Schmidt. Row 6, Kyle Trudell, and runner-up in the points right now, Michael Araya.
He's got a bit of ways to go. Ross Cato starts 13th tonight with Kyle Kamer in 14th. Nick Silver, Chris Rabel will double up for row number 8 with Dave Matson and Kelvin Macer making his first start of the year on row 9.
Sam Nieto in 19th, a bit of a surprise with Sean Casto rounding out row 10. Braden Whitaker and Tom Morano in row 11 and 23rd. Sean Kalis, Agnell Phillip without a qualifying time in 24th.
Yeah, Agnell, the first one to be gridded by automatic seeds. The rest of the drivers as well in that same category. So Patterson, Chambliss, Hess, Grindle, Kaczynski, and Edwards all get their times based on their iRating. Do not take a time in the actual qualifying session. Talk more specifics about Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. Mentioned this racetrack clocks in at 0.686 miles, 4 turns with just 12 degrees of banking. That's what's going to push all these cars up to the outside. And aside from the actual things that have an impact, Nick, like the banking and the track configuration, it just seems like it doesn't matter where we are. If it's a short track and it's under the lights, that has to be a factor. Just seems like a night race is always more exciting.
Yeah, it was the virtual full moon out tonight. Evan,
we're close to a real full moon, so who knows?
Yeah, I expect this is going to be quite a show tonight. We're going to have probably multiple accidents here, and we're going to have some drivers mad at each other by the end of the night.
As it always is, and as it always should be, I think, on a short track night. And we're happy that everybody tuning in is joining us here on RaceSpotTV. The pace car will dive to the safety of pit road this time through, and and the field is in the hands of the number 88 Chevrolet of your championship leader, Andrew Freenos. Just 2 races to go in this 2022 Winter Series season as we say, let's go short track racing in Indianapolis.
Impressive of Connor to hold him on the outside there. That was really big, and it looks like
very best.
Yeah, looks like he's gonna clear him.
88 of Freenos tried to fight back on the bottom on the back, but lap number 1 is indeed led by Connor Horn. Now, we talked all pre-race how the outside's the preferred lane. Horn had a good jump, and off of turn number 2, book it, the 67 of Connor Horn takes an early race lead away from the 88 car.
And Evan, if that doesn't show you how difficult it's going to be to make a pass on the outside, that is maybe the best in the series that wasn't able to complete the pass on the inside. So it's going to be about track position and staying up high, or at least in the middle lane here at the beginning of the run.
Yeah, the control car is going to have much more of a benefit later in this race because for all restarts, the control car can choose to lead either from the inside or from the outside lane, but you cannot do that on the initial start. Connor Horn qualified second best, was given the top. That's how he had the spot. Freenos is not going to go away though here, but I guarantee you Connor Horn's going to do everything in his power to not let Andrew get above him. And an early yellow, lap number 4, it is Michael Laraya, the championship counterpart to Andrew Freenos, is around and in the outside wall, just 4 laps in to this Sim Speed Shop 150. What happened to the 44?
Looks like Tice got into the
But I think the only thing, as you mentioned, is that Michael Laraya's poor qualifying effort put him in that position. Remember, Liam Sheen, who was 17 points off Freenos for the title lead, is not here tonight. That ends his championship hopes. And Michael Laraya was only 13 points off. He is wrecked out less than 5 laps in. And in the blink of an eye, Freenos may have a chance to lock things up here tonight. There's another look from high above. There's another 4 or 5 cars involved in that one off of 2 down the backstretch, but of course Laraya, the notable name.
Yeah, and that's so hard, right? Because it looks, you're probably seeing that and thinking it's lap 5, maybe take it a little easy, but you're fighting for every position that you can, every spot you can. And in Joseph's case, he's on the outside. He's got the preferred line, and like we talked about pre-race, stepped over the line just an inch. And, you see the trouble that it caused. Sam Nieto was in that as well. And Sam's very good at these type of tracks. We've got a couple of heavy hitters on pretty early.
Here's Kyle Kamer's perspective. Remember, he was just trying to get away from this. He's in his own lane, and just that little bit of a checkup plus slight movement down to the left on behalf of Laraya put him in contact with Kamer there, and that is how all of those drivers stacked up. And this thing's done. I mean, Michael Laraya is still stationary in his pit stall, already multiple laps down. Of course, the kind of funky contact with the outside wall made the damage maybe worse than it could have been. But if Andrew Freenos were to finish second place in this race, where he runs now, of course, he still has a very good chance to win this thing. Let's not forget that. But if he can just hold a decent run, second place would net him some 35 championship points. Right now, Michael Laraya is being scored all the way down in 29th position. That would net him even fewer. He would only score, I believe, for finishing down in 29th, 8 race points, and that would be enough, I think, to make it nearly mathematically impossible for him to catch him in that Vegas finale. We'll have to wait for the final tally to see. There's also a chance that Michael Araya can stay in this race, Nick, even if he's not a competitive car, just ride around, hope that more cars rack out, and try to salvage some points. But certainly, this is a major blow in the battle for the championship.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, you never know what's going to happen. I don't think that'll be the only caution that we see today. So if he can get out, try and get as many spots as he can, as many laps as he can, because that can come in handy.
We'll reset and try again, as this race still has a long way to go after a very consequential opening lap, or opening run, I should say, incident. Interestingly enough, Connor Horn wants the inside for the restart, but he's in control. Can start this race when he wants. 9 laps down, 141 to go. It's a good jump. Freenosh is still close, though. Can the 67 to clear the 88 to the outside? He'll pull a slide job at 1 and 2 and take it away.
You saw it right there. You're right, that control on the restart really did help get Connor clear of Andrew and be able to kind of go away here. Now they're pretty much racing just like they were before, and Michael Johnson maybe even on the outside. You're going for second.
I was going to say, Freenosh needs to pick his battle here. Does he want to go to the inside of Connor Horn, knowing that if he stays down low, Michael Johnson up there on the outside, number 39, Mara Racing Network entry, could try to sneak to his outside, take that spot away. In the end, Freenosh opts to protect the track position and slots in line in between. Kevin King was very fast earlier today in practice, third on the board, qualified 6th, though, in the Q session. He's racing his way up through the field as he's up to P4.
So in the 88 situation right now, it's a little hard. He's getting some great runs off the corner by kind of diamonding it in, but it's hard because if you make a move, you're right, Michael Johnson goes and takes the line away from him.
Here's a second look at some contact. Oh, Nick Silver had ample assistance as the 8 car of Kyle Kamer got into the back of him. That's about as big of a wreck as you can get without actually wrecking. The only reason that car didn't spin is because it smashed into the outside wall. So there's no yellow, and this race carries on, but heavy contact between 2 cars in the middle of the field.
That outside wall will definitely save the car from spinning out. But as you can see there, Kamer didn't expect him to maybe slow down so much after he hit the wall, and Kamer's got a lot of damage right now, as does Nick.
A tough break there for those two, but the race carries on. Again, fully under the lights here from Lucas Oil. The practice session had a little bit of sunset conditions to kick the afternoon off, but as we race into the night, temps continue to drop. Track temp all the way down to just 80 degrees Fahrenheit. As got a couple of duo battles. Freenosh still trying to make the bottom work on Connor Horn. Kevin King is trying to make the bottom work on Michael Johnson. Both of those with limited success as your top 4 pull away from 5th on back by just a little bit.
Well, it's going to be interesting now because Freenosh has the room to be able to make a move and not fall back to 3rd or 4th. As you can see, he's taking a little more chances right now. I think if he had clear track, he'd be able to drive away from Horn. But it's so tough to complete that pass on the inside until the tires start to wear out a little bit.
Super tricky, and we'll see if Kevin King, who has found so much success in his limited starts here in RSR on the long run, nearly won a couple of times on the long run. That long run did get him the victory at Chicagoland. Just about got him another one at Rockingham. He did end up in victory lane at New Hampshire, also by having a good long run car. He's not normally one who's going to pressure like this early into a stint. Clearly the better car, not by a significant margin, but certainly looks like he's faster than Johnson just based on the fact that he's repeatedly getting those good runs off the corner. But again, Michael Johnson qualified better. He's going to park the bus up top and make it super hard on the 31.
Yeah, Kevin King's been super impressive on the long runs. I was just going to say that. So if we get another 20 to 30 laps, it'd be interesting to see if he can make his way up here. And you could see, again, qualifying so important. I think you put that 31 or the 88 in front, and they could be out in the lead right now and pulling away. As it is, and we've got a caution, so we're going to get another restart.
It's Nick Silver, the 4 car. We just saw the contact a little bit earlier. Garrett Hess, though, has claimed responsibility for the incident, so we'll have to wait for a replay to tell us the full tale of the tape. Somehow, the 00 of Hess was involved in this one also. It happened on lap number 18. They were battling for 16th and 17th at the time. And we talk about that fine line on the outside. Nick just a little bit overcooked it. There was nothing the 4 could do.
It looks very similar to the first caution with Lariah, and if you're the 4 in that situation, there's just not a whole lot you can do, and it's so easy to make that mistake. So easy. I did it about 5 times in practice before getting on here tonight, so can vouch that that's very easy to do, whether there's 1 car or there's 10 cars around you.
An unfortunate break there. We did not see really anybody come down to the pit lane for service on that first incident. However, there are takers the second time through. 6, Schmidt, Casto, Patterson, Nieto, Tyson, others all coming down pit road for service. None of the major players are in, but definitely some of the cars in were running the top 10. It's about a third of the field in for service. There's your weekly reminder that Brandon Six has the best helmet in the field as he executes well on the pit lane. 4 tires at fuel. He'll be the first car off with freshies in P20.
You know, I was interested to see what we were going to do with the strategy here. And tires, they definitely are better. Even after 20 laps, it's definitely the right move if, you know, there wasn't traffic. But starting 20th, I mean, that's going to be a really hard wreck through the field to get back up to the front. What they probably would need now is just, you know, hope the race goes green for a while and see what spots they can make up after about 15 laps or so.
So Garrett Hess, as I mentioned, apologized over the radio for the incident there with the 4 Nick Silver. He also claims responsibility, so he has been given an end of the longest line penalty. Will be sent to the rear. We still have 26 cars on the lead lap. Both Kamer and Silver are -1. Michael Lariah has still yet to return to the racetrack. After his incident, he is now -17 laps in 29th. Not 30th, because although Chris Edwards did partake in practice, Edwards never actually took to the green flag in the race. So that gives us a current field count of 29. Lariah at the back, the only driver, more than 1 lap down, but technically no retirees yet. But I feel like at this point, if Lariah was worried about saving a point or 2, he would have been back on track. So I feel like Michael Lariah is just taking a few moments here, and his night, for all intents and purposes, is done. I did find it interesting that Connor Horn decided, Nick, to start on the inside for the last restart, right? We're spending so much time talking about how you want the top. I mean, it's not that off the wall because, again, restart-wise, A, you can choose, but also a lane. Choose lane, I should say. B, you can choose when we actually restart, right? So it's not like the initial start of the race where they came side by side with one another. He was able to dictate when that race restarted, put a slide jump on Freenach, but it was a little bit close for comfort, and I think he agrees. Connor Horn indicating he will go to the outside for the second restart.
Well, the outside is the safe line to use. And the only risk you really have is, is the 88. What if he makes a mistake and gets into kind of both of you if you're not clear going into turn 1? But I think if there's anybody I would trust, it's Freenach. So the outside seems like the way to go. Luckily, it didn't burn Connor on that last restart. So let's see if that 88 can stay with him this time. And Kevin King in 4th. This could be a benefit for him as well. Watch him and see what he can do here on this restart.
It gives him the upper hand to Michael Johnson. Johnson 3rd, technically higher, but stuck on the bottom. We'll see how it plays out between the 39 and the 31. Green flag flies, back underway. Connor Horn doesn't go that early, but he has the nose in front of Freenach as they rifle into 1 and 2, side by side through the field. Good run off the corner coming for Connor Horn. Not all the way clear yet, though. Kevin King does clear Michael Johnson for 3rd, and now Freenach tucks in line, so Horn still leading this race. Johnson, the loser, he drops a spot to King, though, after being pinned on the bottom of row 2.
That really King not being able to pass Johnson before that caution really worked out. It kind of gave him the free spot there on that restart. It's going to be interesting as Jaron just hit the wall, Jaron Weidmeister, just a little bit, but kept going just fine.
Just a bit of a kiss for the 48 Chevrolet. All is well. Could have been worse, but you don't want to do it too many times. Kind of the same mantra we see at a Darlington. 1 stripe or 2 ain't going to kill you. But, death by 1,000 paper cuts. If you keep hitting it all night, eventually you're going to start causing some serious damage to the right side of that car. You're looking off at the back of race leader Connor Horn. Yes, Andrew Freenach is absolutely plastered on the bumper of the 67 Chevrolet. In fact, it's Chevy Camaros running 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Freenach again trying to get a nose above the 67. inside, diamonding the corner, Nick, much more than what Connor Horn is doing. Connor's taking a sweeping arc all the way through, but right here, Freenosh goes wide, and then he kind of points it down and shoots it off the corner right there. And he's doing that to get a good run off. Looking to the inside here. Don't think he's close enough to put a slide job on him, but Andrew's certainly experimenting with what he can do here at this disadvantage from being in second.
He's doing it. He's doing a really nice job. You know, as a driver, there's no better feeling than halfway through the corner, getting that run like Freenosh is and being able to just drive down the straightaway to the corner if he probably wanted to of Connor, but it's what he's really looking for is maybe a little bit of a mistake from Connor where he slips up just a little bit and the 88 can get enough of a run to get to his inside. But Connor's running probably the best line you can to not let Andrew get to the outside or really the inside right now.
And as Kevin King joins the picture, this conversation gets that much more interesting. Even though he was able to get around Johnson's still hot on his heels. And like we saw on the last run, the top 4 cars, Horn, Freenosh, King, and Johnson, pulling away a little bit from 5th on back. Alan Balancino is dropped to 5th. You got Winemaster, 6, Casto, Harris, and Trudell, the rest of the top 10. Look a little bit further on down the road. You can see a battle with Cody Harris and company. Casto on the inside, clear of him. But it looks like the top 4 cars just a smidge faster than everybody else right now.
Got Michael Johnson there in 4th, get just about up into the wall there, probably just a couple inches away. And yeah, I mean, right now, if you're Connor Horn, hopefully you're having a little bit of fun. You're probably holding up maybe the 2 best in the series right now, and it's keeping it close. You know, he's got no breathing room for maybe really the top 4 this whole race. So really solid job. There's Michael Johnson again, man. You cannot go any slip up, and he's going to be into the wall just a little bit. So it's impressive. It'll be interesting to see what that does to the tires after another 10, 20 laps or so.
You're on board with Michael Johnson. Listen to all the patience. You have to be very, very patient to roll back into the throttle and to get that thing rotate off of the corner. You know, a lot of drivers are going to be patient regardless of the racetrack. Again, you want your tires to last, but certainly here, you just need to do it if you're going to successfully turn a lap. And it's very easy to get a little bit greedy. That's why we see so many drivers overstep the boundaries, get into the fence. Look at that all purple number 070 car of Alan Balancino. He was nearly into the wall further on down the road as up front. Freenosh again trying to get to the bottom. Kevin King, I think, makes this an interesting dynamic because the restart prior to the most recent one, Freenosh probably would have wanted to stay bottom on Horn, but had to tuck in line to prevent what was then 3rd place runner Michael Johnson from getting to his outside. And I feel like if Kevin King starts pressuring Freenosh, it's going to take away the 88's ability to challenge for the race lead. You're looking at Agnell Phillip on the right-hand side. He's had a punt. You can see that heavy back-end damage on his number 94 Chevrolet. 1 for 1 this year, Nick, as you mentioned earlier tonight. Dega last week was his first start. Won it in dramatic fashion by 4/1000ths of a second over Alexander Russell. And Agnell Phillip started 24th. He is plus 12, but that only makes him the 3rd biggest mover in the field. We got Harry Grindle plus 14. Grindle started 28th and is in 14th at the moment. And Sean Casto may be a name to look for. Casto started 20th. He's plus 15 up into P5. And you see that battle on the left-hand side of your screen.
Well, if you notice 3rd and 5th right now, we were just talking about them about 15 laps ago. That's Brandon 6 and Sean Casto who came in and pitted during that last caution. So I'd say they've got enough of a long run now that these tires, they're going to bring them up into the lead here without in the next couple of laps. As we can see, look how quick work they may be able to make to the 88 and the 67.
And it looks like it may work out well for them. You have 4 additional sets of tires. And look at that, Brandon 6. Freenosh knew that was a matter of time, so he opted not to fight him for it. Just tucked back in line and opted to drop down to 3rd. So Brandon 6 pitted 18 laps ago. He's got about 20 lap fresher tires than all of these other drivers around him who did not pit. Freenosh now instructed as well. the 52 car Casto to go to the inside of him. And Connor Horn just said over the radio, oh no, they're coming. Brandon Six is on his heels. Horn has led all 39 laps so far tonight. From a Lucas Oil Raceway, he may lead just one more. Nah, Six has got him. And Connor Horn saw that one coming, waved him on through. And a new race leader at lap number 41 is Brandon Six.
It was, I kind of forgot about him for a moment there, Evan. Those guys on the tires, they made quick work. And, you know, right now that looks like a great call. And you're right, with 4 sets of tires, they're probably not running out of tires tonight. So to get the track position that we talked about is so important. They've played the right strategy right now, and it's impressive. And we got Casto going for second.
Casto also on the move as well. And listen, it's certainly a gamble to go for the fresh tires early because you're burning a set. Casto's on through, but with 4 sets of tires available, if you've already pitted, only 3 additional sets left. But we're close to 1/3 distance. Of course, yellows are going to be the story of this race, but right now, looking like the correct call for, again, I mentioned it was about 1/3 of the cars who pitted on that last yellow, and they certainly have the upper hand now. A couple of drivers haven't made their way through traffic quite as good. Chris Rabel was one of those cars who pitted, but he's still down at 11th. William Schmidt also pitted recently. He's still down in 15th, but certainly Six and Casto carrying the torch. They have rocketed their way to first and second, and they're going to run away. The battle for what was the race lead, now the fight for third. Nothing's changed there either. It's again Frenash trying unsuccessfully to get underneath Connor Horn as the race leaders are already 1.5 seconds up the road.
Yeah, if you're Six and you're Casto right now, you're hoping this race goes green for as long as possible. They've got the right tires. They've now got the track position, and they're pulling away from the guys who've been leading this whole race. You can see we've kind of got some guys on tires starting to mix in with guys like Connor and Andrew, who have been on the same tires they started the race with. So we've got a really nice battle here from 3rd through about 9th right now.
There's a lot going on in that midfield area. It's a bit busier, of course, with the fuel strategy game playing, but I still think, again, on an equal tire stint, the quartet of Horn, Frenash, King Johnson, some of the best cars on track. I want some, credit to Alan Ballacino. Talked about him as doing very well. The Nexus driver on with these guys. Jaron Winemaster, Nick, somebody who we have seen grow so much in the XPM stable running here in RSR over his RSR career, has continued to get better and better and is right up the mix as well with all these heavy hitters.
Yeah, what a solid run. Going over to Extreme, they had a lot of success early this year, and that'll rub off. We see that with a couple of other guys as well, like William Schmidt, who went to Keeping It Real Esports, and is we've seen a real uptick there. So there's a real advantage to being with a larger team. You can learn from some of the best, and in this series, XPM has maybe 5 or 6 cars at least. So what a great opportunity to learn and grow. We're seeing it here tonight. He's been top 10 all race. He's got speed usually. Sometimes it's just about getting to the finish for Jared. So we're only 1/3 of the way through, but he's been impressive all night so far.
The XPM has caught up to Flat Out and passed them, as you see a bit of miscommunication there with Andrew Frenash. He and Kevin King got together, both drivers apologetic over the radio, but a miscommunication into one nearly caused the problem. King is up to 4th. Frenash trying to hold on to 5th, but Michael Johnson will come off at turn number 4 with a huge head of steam, and Frenash slipping to P6. Frenash going down the order could have been big for Michael Laraya, but of course Laraya took the big hit early in this race, and again, the only thing Frenash can do tonight is get such a good finish that he's mathematically got it locked. Hold that thought. Yellow, 3rd one of the night. Several drivers in it. Sam Nieto and Braden Whitaker may be the 2 cars involved. Caution at lap number 50.
This has not been Sam's night, Evan. So he's had better days. Let's take a look, and it looks like he just, Ooh. Wow. and that, that's what we saw the 88 do for almost 60 laps of this race, right? It's so easy to get impatient when you keep going to the inside like Sam was, and, just slipped up a little bit, and big accident.
Tough break there, but now the script is flipped. We talked about the drivers who are already pitted having the advantage. They do not want to sacrifice that, so everybody is down pit road. For the drivers who were on the back foot, Freenash and company, it's going to be the first trip down for service. For the guys who took the race lead, they're now burning their second of 4 sets, so they're going to be halfway through their tires, only 1/3 of the way through this race. As they race off of the pit lane, Casto, best of them all, will win the race off the pit road. A couple of drivers did not pit. Garrett Hess and Mike Kuczynski stayed out. They may be hoping to secure a bonus point because they are going to come back down to the pit lane this time through. So Kuczynski is going to be the driver to get the lead lap. If he does, we'll see if he's credited with that as the cars who already pitted come around the start-finish straight, but I think Kuczynski did enough. Yes, he did. Mike Kuczynski gets the bonus point for the lap led. Mission accomplished there. And how about, actually, he just drove all the way through, so I think he gets the bonus point, but he's probably going to have to pit again to find his stall because he's still the leader. But aside from him, Casto, with a better pit stop, will go to the race lead here.
It's going to be interesting to see what he can do on this restart here. Casto maybe hasn't had the best winter series. I think I maybe expected a little bit more from him, but he's played the strategy right so far and is in the lead, and that's really all you can ask for here, right? So from his strategy standpoint, that caution probably came out at a time that maybe we wanted it to run 10 or 15 laps more. So him, Brandon 6, some others have 2 sets of tires for about 95 laps. So you do some math there, and I think you're hoping the cautions are a little spaced out. We don't have a lot of cautions at the end where they have the opportunity to be flipped from where they were on that last green flag run, where you're on the back end of tires and you're trying to race those guys who are probably faster than you anyway with some older tires.
No drivers taking responsibility for the most recent incident, so that one going to be looked at a post-race review. Nobody's going to lose their position on track. Casto also leading the lap under the yellow flag as the new race leader secures a bonus point. He's the 4th different driver to lead a lap. Connor Horn, who led the opening 39, still has the most. Brandon 6 has led 12. Casto now 2. Kuczynski led that 1. Those are the 4 drivers who have led laps so far in this race as the lights go on top of the race car. So we're a third of the way through, Nick. We're kind of seeing tonight's race very similar to what we saw last week. Of course, the Lariah incident, the big story in the first half, but this one seems to be wide open in terms of who's got the upper hand looking for the win.
Freenash not leading a lap tonight is probably the most shocking thing from this race, and that's with Lariah out on lap 5. So, yeah, it's been a good one. Casto took the inside. He may regret that here in turn 1 if he doesn't clear Connor coming down to the green here.
You see Casto goes way to the bottom to try to break God for the car behind him. Green flags in the air. He's able to successfully use the inside line to defend his race lead. He cycles up in front, and he has control for the lead down the backstretch and into 3.
Yeah, Casto had the best restart of the night, so just ignore what I was saying there. But here comes Connor to the outside. I think he's there, Evan. He's going to probably get the lead here because of it.
The key was clearing, but you just couldn't let him get back to your outside, and Connor Horn was able to get a sneaky nose in there. Casto's going to do everything he can to pinch him up to the outside wall and make Connor Horn uncomfortable, but I'm just not sure how successful it will be. He's going to pitch it off a 4, and back to the race lead is Connor Horn. So Horn back to the point. Remember, everybody's on equal tires now, so that benefit no longer there for 6 and Casto. And now let's see what Kevin King can do to the 52. He'll try to make the move on the bottom. Drive up alongside, and a little bit of a tight call there. We'll see if Kevin King can be the first driver to make a pass down low work up front, or if he'll have to take a page out of Connor Horn's book and try to sneak a nose up top. But, I mean, Kevin King's driving it in so aggressively. Look for a slide job here if the window opens.
You think Casto maybe learned a little bit from that last pass? And, if you're going to pass me, you're going to have to do it on the inside, right? You can see Kevin's definitely faster. And, man, that's so hard to make that pass. So Connor almost kind of got a gift there, getting in the lead, doing it on the outside. So I think he's going to clear him here, but no one's close. No, he didn't clear him. And so this is a battle. It's going to keep going.
Kevin King pushing up and up further and further, and there it is, slide job. Casto gives him a shot, but you had to know by the body language of Kevin King that that was coming. Parked the bus right in front of the 52 and takes the spot for second.
Evan, I'd be disappointed if you didn't say slide job there. So that was a classic slide job, and you had to do it there. And you got the 88 on the inside now going for fourth on Brandon 6, and he's in that same position. It's been a little harder for him to make passes today than maybe he thought it was going to be. And it's close contact there, but he needs to get by quick if he wants to have a shot at those front two.
He's going to have to do the same thing that Kevin King did, and that is try to put a slide on the 66, but it's a pair of those MRN-sponsored Chevrolets up top, 6 and then Johnson, so Friedosh is putting all his eggs in one basket here. If he can't pass Brandon 6 for fourth, he's likely to get passed by Michael Johnson and slide down to P6, so Friedosh is kind of in a make-or-break point here as we close in on halfway through the SimSpeed Shop 150. A little bit close that time. Now contact with the 39 car of Johnson as it is getting spicy in the top 10.
And this is the worst possible situation for Friedosh because, one, he's losing spots on the inside. Two, he's burning his tires up quicker than he'd like right now. That inside line is much more aggressive on the tires, and you can see that he gave up to get back to the outside and start over again.
And that is exactly how it shook out, right? Ends up down in 6. So now he has to hope that maybe 6 and Johnson will fight with one another and give him another opportunity because, again, it's just going to be so tough to make it work on the bottom. Kevin King was able to do so on a Casto with a bit of a slide job, but aside from that, every other major pass in the top 5, I think, has been made up on the outside, and I think that, goes to give credit to Connor Horn for being sneaky enough to get a nose up there. As you can see, a slow-mo look of the brush to the outside wall from William Schmidt back in traffic, and that's one of those kisses, right? That's just a touch, just a stripe, nothing to be concerned about there, but certainly, if you were looking to buy some sheet metal off of these race cars, the right side's going to be a lot more race used than the left, as we'll put 66 laps down, this time by Connor Horn, continuing to add to his lap lead counter, now at 49 in control.
And if you're Andrew right now, we're seeing him looking for 5th place. It almost may make sense to kind of, if you don't think that you can get up to 4th, stay in 6th right now. Maybe you get a quick caution and you restart the next restart on the outside. You can make a couple spots up that way because, it's just he has not been able to make a pass on the inside today. Another person at the end of this lead group here that we haven't talked a whole lot about is Agnell Phillip. It started 24th. He's up to 9th. It's been slow. It's been methodical, but are we surprised that just before halfway he's starting to make an appearance in the top 10?
No shock at all as he continues to march and march and march. I mentioned that at a time his plus 12 was second best, or third best. He's still only the third biggest mover at a plus 15, still beaten by Casto and Grindle, who are plus 17 apiece, but certainly Agnell Phillip continuing to be impressive and trying to find a way around Chris Rabel. Now, most cars, when they try to go to the bottom, you saw it certainly with Kevin King. Remember how he was crowding the car in front of him up the hill, right? Really pushing the 52 up. You're not seeing that out of Agnell. When Agnell goes to the bottom, he's not just going a lane below the top. I mean, Agnell was going all the way to the bottom and tucks back in line. He'll try again and think about it as now we see the perspective on the board of the Ross Cato in 13th position. But certainly these drivers, again, searching, constantly looking for something different that works, because if you're just going to take the preferred lane, this will be your view. Car in front of you and probably a car right in your tire tracks behind you.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of frustrated drivers, and it's not really even because of the contact. It's because they've been seeing the same bumper in front of them for about, 71 laps now. So we see Ross here. He could take advantage a little bit today of second and third in points, not either running or being out early, right? So he came in 4th. It's a quiet day in 13th. Maybe not the best day, but hey, there's half this race to go. So see if he can kind of get up there and make a little bit of a move here into the top 10 before the end.
Kato's somebody who is always good to, try to take things at, one step at a time, I think has always been his motto. Tries not to overdrive the car, let some of the other people around him burn their stuff up or make mistakes and look for those, constant top 10, top 15 finishes and in another good position to do so. I mentioned that we hadn't had any official retirees. Michael Araya is now officially out of this race and will finish dead last in 29th position. And it doesn't matter who the pair are up front, if they're on new tires, old tires, or same as everybody else. The constant battle of maybe a car a little bit better being in second and being unable to get under and around the car in front continues. Now, Friedosh slid down the hill a little bit. He's trapped in P6. Ever since he lost that battle to, Brandon Six and to Michael Johnson, tagged up on him, got a spot. He's been unable to do anything else. You can see he's still trying. But Kevin King is being the Andrew Friedosh now, doing what he was trying to do to Connor Horn earlier. And Connor Horn has now had ample practice of playing defense. And it seems, even though he's, I wouldn't say a comfortable gap in front, Nick, right? I'd like to be a second ahead of these guys. I don't think you can be comfortable when Kevin King is constantly on your left rear quarter panel. But I just haven't seen anything out of Kevin King or Andrew Friedosh, for that matter, when it was Friedosh in second, that would indicate that a pass is imminent. I think Connor Horn has really got this optimal line figured out. He's just going to park it exactly where he wants to keep that race car as a defensive position, and it just is going to, we're going to have to see something new from King or anybody else who wants to challenge, because they haven't been able to crack the code of Connor Horn yet. And you can see King's going to do whatever he can to try to get a nose up top, but I would not expect Connor Horn to let that happen.
No, and what is this, the biggest lead that we've seen all day by anybody? So it's been honestly a lot closer than I maybe thought it would be. We've got probably about the top 10 or 12 there within 2 seconds of each other, like it's Daytona or Talladega. And you're right, he's been fast. I don't know if he's been the fastest car today, but it's going to be really hard to pass him, because unless somebody is way faster than him, he's already shown for half this race that he could keep it out front, and to get around him, you're probably going to have to make some contact.
Single file line as the battle for the race lead continues, as we are past halfway home in this Sim Speed Shop 150. Let's take a look top to bottom at our Sim Speed Shop Midway race break. Connor Horn has led the most laps, 61 total. He leads by 0.2 of a second right now over Kevin King in second. Just behind them, Sean Casto has led 4. He's in third. Brandon Six has led 12 laps. He's in fourth. Michael Johnson still in fifth, ahead of P6 Andrew Friedosh, your championship leader. Alan Balacino still sits in seventh, ahead of Chris Rapel in eighth. Agado Phillip, a top 10 car, he's ninth, and Jaron Winemasters, P10.
Harry Grindle in 11th, one of the biggest movers of this race, as mentioned earlier. Kyle Trudell in 12th. Ross Cato in 13th, William Schmidt 14th, and Cody Harris, with a quiet night so far, in 15th. Speaking of not quiet, Nick Silver in 16th, Brian Chambliss in 17th, Joseph Tyson 18th, Garrett Hess, some of those ones earlier, in 19th, and Kevin Masur in 20th.
Continuing on third, Storm Patterson is 21st position, Kyle Kamers 22nd, and Sean Kalis is 23rd. He is the last car on the lead lap. There's a pair 1 lap down. It's -1 for Braden Whitaker, 24th, and Tom Morano in 25th. Sam Nieto's 2 laps down in 26th. Mike Kaczynski -4 in 27th. Dave Matson's in the garage, 28th. And as mentioned, Michael Araya in the garage as well in the number 29 position. Did want to note that he did comment on the unfortunate luck that he had. Michael Araya tweeted not that long ago when he got out of the race car, "Terrible luck tonight. A checkup occurred in turn 2 and I ended up getting spun into the wall. No way that he was able to do it. Had to tow and suffered heavy damage." He says, quote, "Championship hopes are over." Araya, 29th tonight at IRP. To look top to bottom at your Sim Speed Shop Midway race break. Sim Speed Shop manufactures sim racing hardware that utilizes the best components available, as well as mixing in real-world components to their products that give you the most realistic racing experience possible. Customize your hardware and rig by visiting simspeedshop.com for more information. Proud title sponsor of the 2022 RealSimRacing Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. working on one of the longer green flag runs of the night. And you know, we talk about making it hard to pass, and typically that would imply, Nick, that it's a very boring race, right? I'm sure it's frustrating for the drivers, don't get me wrong on that aspect, but certainly we're not seeing people pull out to a half a second or a full second away. You can look right now, your top 4 cars are separated by less than 7/10 of a second, and the gap off the race leader to second place as we look off the bumper of Connor Horn is barely a car length.
Well, maybe they're not having a lot of fun, but I am. And it's been a great race so far. Again, a lot closer than we thought. You know, these top even 10 are all just so similar in speeds. You know, it seemed like 5 laps ago, Casto was losing the top 2, and I was about to make that comment, and then he came up, you know, a couple laps ago and ran the fastest laps. So we'll see. Kevin King is getting a little impatient now, so it may be time to start with the bumper. We're closing in on the final third of this race here.
Right, I mean, his pass on Casto for second was certainly pretty aggressive, right? I mean, Kevin King's not going to just send somebody into the fence, but definitely, you know, when he put the slide job in the 52, cut it a little bit close, certainly parked the bus, and to, you know, Casto's credit, he gave the 31 a shot. I mean, they each initiated contact in their own ways. They both could have avoided it, but I think you're right. I mean, how long is Kevin King going to run around, especially if he feels like he's the significantly better car, then that frustration is going to start to build. Now, Kevin King's a long-time vet of the service. I think it's going to take a lot for him to get very frustrated, right? I don't think he's going to get annoyed after 20 laps and run a guy over. Kevin King, as we mentioned earlier in the race, is always the guy who plays the long game, takes care of his equipment, and is good at the end of a long run, but may save a little bit here, and he still has that speed to be good when it matters the most late in this race.
And I think that's what we're gonna probably start to see in the next few laps, if that long run success that Kevin has seen throughout this winter series will transfer here. It's been maybe about 30-35 laps since we went green. If the tires are going to start to fall off, this is where we're going to start to see it. And I mean, King is he's right there, and he's got a little bit of breathing room now from Casto in third. So if he wants to, you know, maybe make a move that he wasn't going to make a few laps ago, he's got a little bit of space to do that, see if it works, and then get back in line. But it's, you know, you're going to have to do it at some point. So we'll see if he can. I mean, we still got the top 10 here in a line, so there's not a lot of room for error. But we'll see. I think at some point he's going to have to make a move.
Going to be a little bit interesting with some of the lap traffic up the road. Your race leaders are currently lapping in the 24-second range. Connor Horn's last lap was the best of them all, leading this race, a 24.113. His best lap came earlier tonight, 22.904. That's not a ton of fall off, right? Only 1.2 seconds. Some drivers probably closer to, you know, 1.3, 1.4, but you're not seeing a ton of fall off on the tires, which is something that's important to note. And with the preferred lane being up high, if the lapped cars want to make it easy, they can. Your race leaders are still about 6-7 seconds behind lap traffic, but once they get there, there's going to be a bunch of cars. Calvin Masser, Kyle Kamer, Storm Patterson, Garrett Hess, all within about 2 seconds of each other once they get up there. So that could always be a point of contention. As you see Casto here in the 52 machine get passed by Brandon 6, and now 6 back to third. So that's a buffer between King and Casto. And remember, Brandon 6, last time we saw him storm through the field was because he had fresh rubber. He's doing it here, though, on equal tires.
Yeah, he's fast. And, you know, Evan, as someone who thought he was going to be a lap car tonight, going into the race, my thinking was I'd probably stay as close to the bottom as I could to give all these leaders as much room to the outside as you could. But they're using a lot more track maybe than maybe I expected. And getting close to the apron coming off of especially turn 4. So that makes it a little bit of a challenge for the lap car. Hopefully they're going to be in a lot of communication with the leaders so they don't make a difference here. Because you're right, one lap car going in the line you don't expect, and King's there, and he can make a move that otherwise he wouldn't have been able to. And Brandon 6, yeah, I think Castro's starting to struggle a little bit here as we kind of go through this run. He's done a really nice job of staying up there, but as you can see, he's starting to fall into the clutches of Freenage and Johnson, and man, I think that 88's going to 39 for probably about 40 laps now.
Some of the lap traffic staying low out of the way. Connor Horn communicating with those drivers when he gets close to them, asking them to go low, move out of the way. I believe that was Whitaker, who goes 2 laps down, get it out of the way that most recent time. Again, it can be a problem, but if the lapped cars want to play nice, we can get away with a lot. I'm still waiting for something to go wrong, though, in this group, right? I mean, we talk about gaps. If everybody is in agreement on the one line to run, then you're pretty okay, right? But because this racetrack is so hard to pass, we see so much experimenting that we're so many times seeing these cars staggered, Nick, and that's what gets me worried, right? If you're bumper to bumper with somebody, you kind of know what they're doing better. Even if you accidentally get into them, a square punt on the back end may not be an end-all be-all, but when you got some drivers going a little bit lower into the corner, like Casto is doing here, when some drivers are faster off than others, right? When you get cars staggered, that's where I'm always worried, because getting into somebody's quarter panel can be a lot quicker of a trip to the outside wall than, you know, a square shot to the bumper. And I feel like if something's going to happen here, it's going to be on somebody trying to get around off the corner, somebody trying to find a hole, and just some inadvertent contact. We've been all right for now, but anytime I see a car high, a car middle, and a car low, you just figure they're all going to converge on the same lane when they get off the turn, and it just can't end well.
And as the tires start to continuously fall off and, you know, guys are hanging on, they're going to be searching more racetrack to be able to make a move, right? So, and just keep the car at reasonable speed. So you're starting to see that a little bit, and you're right. You know, it's going to be so easy for someone to make a mistake like that. And when it does, it's going to bunch up the field, and we may not get another green flag run. So you want to be able to make as much ground as you can, or in some cases, just not run your tires off and be able to stay where you are.
We talk about how hard it is to wrestle these cars around this tricky Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. Let's take it all in and enjoy the sights and sounds of IRP with some RaceSpotTV fan immersion. Some aggressive side-by-side racing in the battle for fifth. That's Andrew Freenosh trying to get around Sean Casto via the bottom. Casto has been slipping and slipping since he was running up in third a little bit ago. Freenosh wants to send him even further down, 3 wide with lap traffic. Whitaker to the outside. The 29 Ravels right there. So is Alan Valentino. He wants in on the action as well.
And you can see those lap cars in the way. That gives the lead lap cars an opportunity to make a move like Andrew did, because you think that you know this is the time to do it when maybe somebody checks up for just a second. So it's been close. We've also seen, as Andrew really trying to complete his first inside pass today, we've seen the top 3 or 4 start to separate just a little bit because of that lap traffic as well. So I would say at this point it's probably a 4-person race, and this battle for fifth rages on, Evan.
It does continue on, and Andrew Freenosh is doing everything he can on Casto, but what this has really done is backed this whole battle up. Johnson in fourth is more than a second and a half in the lead, and Andrew is running Casto up the road. Remember, Casto got used up by Kevin King in a battle for second, and he may get used up again. He missed the corner that time, though. Freenosh overdrove him several times and I think flustered the 52 a little bit and forced Casto into a mistake. Casto slides to 6th. Andrew picks up the P5. And Alan Valentino trying to do the same. He wants to get through on the bottom. He'll try next.
Well, now that those guys behind Casto saw a pass completed, they know that they can do the same thing if they're just a little aggressive. So I'd watch this here. There's a lap car that the 07 is going to try and maybe block that 52 in behind. No, they're just going to try and go 3 wide instead. So this is when it gets tricky right here. As you can see, another spot lost by Casto.
That's 2 passes on the bottom. What happened? I mean, they're deep into a run, right? 67 laps on the tires. They still aren't easy, but I guess they're possible.
I think that Casto, what happened is Casto wants a caution. So I think it'd be fun to see the tire wear on his tires if the caution comes out, because they've got to be done right now. So while they continue to battle, it's going to be interesting to see. Now, for maybe the first time this race, Freenosh has clean air, and if you just look at that pylon, I mean, he's picked up about almost a half second here in the past 3 or 4 laps. So he's had the speed probably the whole race, but now is the time to use that speed. We've only got 30 laps to go. We see Agnell making a move on the outside. Well, that's the thing, too, with Casto being a little slow and holding guys up. You know, they think they can make a move on the inside, but if they don't, now Rabel's at risk of losing 1 or multiple spots by trying to pass Casto.
And that's exactly what happened there, is Rabel was trying to set something up on the 52. Wasn't able to do so. It opened the door up top for Agnell Phillip, and the number 94 car is going to take that one away. Jaron Winemaster now going to go up top, and getting stuck on the bottom, trying to move up is not, specific to anybody. We saw Freenosh lose 2 spots by trying to pass somebody and getting pinched down low earlier in this race, and now it happens to Rabel. Phillip through and Winemaster through. And instead of gaining a spot, Rabel drops 2. He falls all the way down to back to the number 10 position in the running order. You got the 70 of Harry Grindle there. Haven't talked much about him tonight, Nick, but a very impressive run for Grindle, who started 28th in this race and has driven his way up to 11th position. Who mentioned some of his intervals at point, but haven't checked him out on track much. He is still the biggest mover at plus 17 and on the cusp, maybe cracking a top 10, which would be very impressive given he started on the second to last row.
It is impressive, and he's in 11th right now, so this battle for the top 10, it is important. I can tell you, as someone who runs in the teens sometimes, it's important, as Casto may give him that spot here in a couple laps, but this could be the hardest fight that you see for a top 10. It ends up on the stat line, and they all know it. So as Casto continues to fall back, I think the common denominator in the last 30 laps or so has been Casto on screen, defending and falling backwards, and that's going to continue now to put Grindle in that top 10, maybe, if he can clear him.
Trying his very best on the bottom, and Casto in a role reversal. He was just the car stuck on the bottom. Now he's the car defending on the outside. I really thought he was going to get a good enough run off of 4 that time. He lost all his speed all of a sudden, maybe got into the gas a little bit too soon, but did in the end get back and around Grindle, and now Harry's going to try this one again to back on the bottom. Through all of this, I mentioned the battle between Friedosh and the company dropping things back. One thing that we are seeing now that we haven't seen all night, and not missing anything, this is still the best stuff on track, but I just want to note, look at the intervals, left-hand side of your screen. Connor Horn, 0.8 of a second, nearly up on Kevin King. It is significantly the largest margin for the race lead we have had tonight, and that's just a byproduct of a long green flag run that has taken us all the way inside of 25 laps to go. The 12 car, Kato sideways. What a save as he held on in 13th.
I thought we were getting a crossing right there. And what Ross just felt right there, all these drivers are feeling right now. I can tell you, if I was in the car right now, I would be hurting because I don't think any of us would have expected an 80-lap green flag run here. So they're all on the edge of control, as you can see there. What a save by Ross. Let's take a look at it. I would not have saved that car. I can tell you that right now.
He certainly had a little bit of help from behind, and not only did he save that car, but there was another car in front of him, Nick, and he stayed off that car too. But I mean, so many times you see somebody save it, but in the process they get into somebody else, and it's, I could have saved it, but there wasn't space. That was a very small box that Ross Cato had to save that race car, and he successfully did so. So a nice piece of driving by the 12. I mean, that thing's pretty yacht out there, and you can see up the road of him was the other driver that I was talking about. I mean, very little space there for Storm Patterson, who could have got collected in that one. He did not. 3 wide now through the middle as the 28 car of Cody Harris got into Cato. Harris is sideways now. Castro's nearly into the outside wall. Everybody is driving on black ice now with 20 laps to go in this race.
Oh, again. They are fighting. They're trying to cause a caution for us, 7, and it's. I don't know if you saw that. Wow, that was close.
It was Patterson. Storm Patterson got tagged by the 2 of Sam Nieto and hanged on to that one. I thought that was a surefire wreck.
Yeah, sorry for pausing there. It got me my heart raced there for a second. Let's take a look at that. Another nice save. It's so hard to do when you've got 100-lap old tires at a short track like this, and with a car that looks like that, that's even more impressive. So. Up near the front, I mean, it's Connor Horn is pulling away. Was he maybe saving his tires when he was backing up the whole field like that? You have to wonder because he's pulling away now. But Friedosh, we see he's caught up to this group. He's up to 4th now. I don't believe he can pass 2 cars and get up to Connor by 17 more laps if this thing stays green. But he's making a late race charge here with probably saving his stuff a little bit.
I think the big thing to take away for Connor Horn is he's really only been on attack mode for 2 laps in this race, right? I mean, he hasn't led all, but he has led the most laps. That's secured, by the way. He's led 116 so far. He's guaranteed himself 2 additional bonus points regardless of where he finishes on the scoring pylon. But that very first lap was a lap of attack because he had to pass Andrew Friedosh via the outside. The laps that he didn't lead in this race were simply because the cars that passed him had fresh rubber, and he really didn't fight them for it. And then immediately off of the next restart on even tires, he drove back out around the outside of the race lead, did that in 1 lap. Other than that, Nick, he hasn't been attacking at all. I think that even though Kevin King, we talked about, is so good at saving the car for the long run, King is now slipping. Brandon 6 just passed him for P2. Andrew Friedosh is there as well. He may give it a go for 3rd. That all comes down to, even though Kevin King may not have been digging hard, he spent so much time just trying, right? Looking to the bottom of Connor Horn, trying to do something that he was significantly wearing his tires more than what we were seeing out of the 67, and it's biting him right now as Alan Balacino looking to the outside on Andrew Friedosh. How's this fight for 4th?
I don't think we expected that, and yeah, it looks like maybe Kevin was holding that group up a little bit. Just looking at the timing and scoring, Brandon maybe a little faster. It's going to 9/10 in 13 laps is going to be a lot, but to pick up. But I think we look at 2 races here. We see the 88's race. That first lap didn't clear Connor Horn. He's been fighting to get back up to even 2nd for most of this race, where Connor Horn took the lead on the first lap, and he's led almost all the laps, like you mentioned. So it just goes to show how important track position is, and how one pass on the first lap can really change the outcome of the race.
It really flipped the script, and there were several key points. The pit strategy for Brandon 6, which allowed him to get back up into here, and I thought, all right, looked like a good call. The yellow came out shortly thereafter, and I thought, all right, he's burned half of his tire sets a third of the way into this race, right? Was that going to catch him out? Even if we have yellows later in this race, he still has 2 sets, so that ended up being a good call by Brandon 6 to gain himself track position. The big moment when Andrew Freenosh lost a handful of spots and got trapped down in P6 for a little while. And of course, can't not mention enough the Michael Araya issue from early in this race, which may end the championship here tonight based on how they run. I think it's important to note, Nick, you mentioned earlier Andrew Freenosh having not led a lap. He still has not led a lap, and he was on pole for this race, and it was also best in practice. So if you told me after he was on pole and best in practice that he wouldn't lead a single lap through the first 140, probably would not have believed you.
Neither would I if you were saying that. And, with 10 laps to go, one of the things that we're starting to see up at the front, Brandon 6, the last 5 laps has been faster than Connor Horn. He's taken it from about 1.2 seconds to under a half second. So this race is not over yet, Evan. Connor's maybe saving his stuff a little bit, but Brandon is coming here. Just a few laps to go. And he's really closing now. He's really closing now.
He's doing a very good job of closing the gap. Brandon 6 was the driver who led 12 laps earlier tonight on a different tire strategy. We saw a little bit of glimpse of this, though, Nick, about 20 laps ago, right? When he started picking off spots, he got around Kevin King, maybe saved a little bit more. Remember, King, Freenosh, all those guys were aggressive early in this run. We didn't talk about 6. All he cared about was maintaining track position. I think he's certainly better than Connor Horn.
Yes.
The gap has gone from 1.2 to 0.3 seconds in the battle for the race lead. But as we have seen so many times tonight, catching a car is very different than passing a car. You're seeing that right now in the battle for 3, 4, and 5. Freenosh trying to get around Kevin King, can't do so. Ballacino going to the outside. They'll go side by side for 4th.
Well, we're at the point now where 6 is... He has a decision to make, very maybe similar to a couple of weeks ago, right, with Bradley Burke and Kevin King, where he is close enough to maybe be able to use the bumper if he'd like. We'll see. I mean, he's got it under 3/10. He's within a car length every lap, and he's gaining even more this lap.
And late in the race, is that an indication that he's going to be more aggressive? Lap traffic up the road. Connor Horn's going to have to deviate his line. Oh, and Brandon 6 did not know where to go. The 43 car of Kelvin Masters stayed high, but Brandon 6 followed his tire tracks into 3, into the outside wall, and he gives up a ton of time with 5 to go.
That could be what does it. I still think Brandon's faster, but... we talked about the lap traffic maybe playing a factor, and that's absolutely what happened there. The 43s looks like he's trying to get out of the way, but I mean, I think that may do it. I don't know if Brandon can pick up about a half second here in just 5 laps.
Certainly seems like it would be a tall order, and he is on the back foot, trying to need to find something extra. Connor Horn is a 5-time RSR winner. He's never done it, though, in the B car in the Winter Series. Brandon 6 also looking for victory lane, hanging it all out off of 4. 3 laps to go from Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to gain if you're Brandon 6 right now, but you got to take every chance you can. You can see he's high there, and just doing the best he can. He's going to lose a lot of time. So for Connor Horn, just make no mistakes over these last couple laps, and he's going to win another one.
2 laps to go. This time by needing to get to the white flag for this race to be official. There is lap traffic up the road. William Schmidt. We saw the issues that the lap traffic caused for 6 not that long ago, but I think Schmidt may be just enough out of reach to not be a factor for Connor Horn. if they can get there. This one is going to be official. The white flag is in the air. 1 lap to go from Indianapolis for Connor Horn, who snuck into an early race lead with a strategic pass on the opening lap of this race on Andrew Friedosh. He'll lead a race high 133 laps and take the victory. Final time at 4. Connor Horn wins at IRP.
Awesome job, Connor. That's not what we expected today, Evan. I don't think. At least that's not what I expected. So, really nice run from the first lap, and when he needed to, was able to hold off Brandon Six to get the win.
I mentioned that he had 5 other career RSR wins, but hadn't always been a driver to frequent this winter series, and in his limited starts, he's finally got one on the board. On the board for Horn. Connor Horn is victorious here tonight from Indianapolis at a well-deserving burnout upcoming. He was dominant tonight, went toe-to-toe with the very best, Friedosh, King, and co. And it gets a well-deserved trip to victory lane. Connor Horn is your race winner from Indianapolis. For some reason, Horn just seems to be a tricky word to not combine with others. But he's your winner here tonight from Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. Let's take a look as he celebrates at your Sim Speed Shop full race results. Again, Horn leading 133 laps, gets a perfect max points night. A very impressive showing for his BK Paints Chevrolet team. And I just want to mention it as well, credit to Brandon Six. Without that lap traffic, with maybe an extra 5 laps, may have been a different story. So close to his first RSR win, gets a second place finish for keeping it real. Kevin Kings ends up in 3rd ahead of Alan Ballacino in the number 4 spot, and Andrew Friedosh in 5th. Michael Johnson is 6th ahead of Agnew Phillip in 7th. Jaron Winemaster finishes 8th. Chris Rabels 9th, and Harry Grindle rounds out your top 10.
Cody Harris with a late race charge up to 11th. Kyle Trudell in 12th. Nick Silver, after all that early trouble, rebounded back for 13th. Ross Cato with that amazing save held on to 14th. And Sean Casto, I think he was on our screen probably the last half of the race. 15th. This is the best he could do. Joseph Tice 16th. Brian Chamo 17th. William Schmidt 18th. Kyle Kamer 19th. And Garrett Hess rounds out the top 20.
Continue on down through. Rest of these drivers, again, all had issues. It's plus a lap for Storm Patterson, plus 2 for Nieto, Kalis, and Whitaker, and plus 3 laps for Tom Morano and Kelvin Macer. The drivers in the garage will include Mike Kaczynski, 27th, Dave Matson, 28th, and of course, Michael Araya at the very bottom, plus 147, and 29th, Edwards doesn't make it all the way to the green flag and finishes in 30th. It's a look top to bottom at your Sim Speed Shop. Full race results. Sim Speed Shop manufactures sim racing hardware that utilizes the best components available, as well as mixing in real-world racing components to their products that'll give you the most realistic racing experience possible. Customize your hardware and rig by visiting simspeedshop.com for more information. Proud title sponsor of the 2022 Real Sim Racing Sim Speed Shop Winter Series. Let's head down to Indianapolis Victory Lane, where we are stood by with the driver of the number 67 Chevrolet, Connor Horn. And Connor, a dominant showing for you tonight, leading 133 laps, but I feel like maybe a dozen of those laps were with more than, half a second of a gap. I mean, for much of this race, you had big names all around you, Friedosh, King, and even Brandon Six there with a late race charge.
Yeah, it was a really crazy race, and also a really fun race. That really all started with the initial start. I mean, I got a good start. Andrew couldn't clear me into 1. I expected him to try to slide up, but he let me stay on his right rear, and I was able to clear him. And I was kind of able to control the pace the entire race. I really didn't want to drive too hard. I kind of just wanted to keep the second place driver on my bumper, just so I wasn't straining the tires more than I needed to. And then we had that one run where Six and I think Casto got by us on new tires. And then the yellow came out. I thought that was going to be trouble because I think we were lined up 3rd. And if I was lined up on the bottom, it might not have been pretty. But I think Casto let me get to his right rear. I was able to get by him. And then from there on out, I pretty much controlled the race. Kevin was on my bumper for a lot of it, and I was just running my pace. I was making him run my pace or try hard to pass me, and it seemed like he tried a few things, but after time, he just couldn't get back to me. And I thought it was going to be in the clear, but Brandon came out of nowhere, had a real good run at me. I don't know if he was going to be able to pass me without hitting me, so I was kind of banking on that, and then something with the lap car happened, so that kind of gave me the leeway that I needed to win.
Well, it's good to have you back, on track here at RSR United. I know that, we saw you get a full season out of the Cup Series, find victory lane a couple of times, and, didn't get a chance to see you in this Winter Series previously. Only was able to make 3 starts ahead of tonight, but if we don't count Daytona, which is a plate race, stuff happens, right? You've had real good finishes. A 5th place finish at New Hampshire, a 3rd place finish at another plate track in Talladega, and now a win here at Lucas Oil. How do you compare these B cars to the current Cup cars, and do you feel like these maybe suit your driving style a little bit more, given how consistent you've been in them when we've seen you?
I think so. Trying to get used to driving these cars more, and it's kind of hard to jump from a Cup car to an Xfinity car with, how the downforce is different, and the horsepower, obviously, but it's a fun challenge. I think it's a bigger challenge, a better challenge, and a more fun challenge, and it's always a blast being able to drive these. Even at a short track like this, it was pretty fun. Obviously, it was difficult to pass, but that's kind of the track. It's not really the car more than it's the track, but it's really fun. I like the challenge, and I just think you have a lot more room to race in these cars, whereas in a car, you kind of just have to bide your time and hope someone messes up. And that was kind of the theme tonight, but that was more on the track. I just think these cars you can race a lot more with compared to the Cup car.
I mentioned a limited schedule for you in these Winter Series season this time around. When will we see you fighting for an RSI title fight? You going to give it a go for the Cup cars this time around? Maybe Winter Series next year? What are the plans for the future?
This season I'm hoping to run a full schedule. Haven't done it in a while. Came so close denying Andrew a championship. I guess it was 2.5 years ago at this point. So it's going to be fun to get back in the swing of things and chase another championship. I feel like I gave Andrew a good run for his money in 2019, and I feel like I'm better than I was back then. So hopefully I can do it again, and it should be fun. I can't wait to get the season started and learn these cars again.
We're looking forward to watching that story unfold, Connor. We'll let you get out of here, but first, as always, the sponsors and the shout-outs. Who makes it happen for the 67 Chevy?
RealSimRacing. We added a few people this season, and we came on strong at the end of the Road to Pro season last season. Came pretty close. It came down to the final 2 races for us. Michael Smith Jr. really helped me out and got me to a competitive state last season, and we're looking bigger and better this season. So thank you to Michael Smith for making this all happen, and I'm glad I could bring victory. I don't know if I've won a league race or any race in a little bit of a while, so it's pretty cool to get this one done.
First time at RSR, at least since 2019. Connor, congratulations on the win. Best of luck, and we'll catch you next time.
10-4, see you soon, Evan.
The race winner tonight from Lucas Oil Raceway in the SimSpeed Shop 150, Connor Horn is back in Real Sim Racing Victory Lane. Nick Barr is going to be stood by with the runner-ups tonight, first with our 2nd place finisher, Brandon Six.
Well, Brandon, great run tonight. You had quite an interesting race. I think got a little bit of a different tire strategy at some point. Walk us through your day and then obviously the finish of that race as well.
Yeah, it was a crazy race. We had that early caution. I actually thought we ran finally enough laps that tires kind of meant something. I didn't think it would mean that big of a deal, but I was shocked when both Sean and myself basically drove up to the field and up to the front. I was actually kind of praying it would stay green because I was pretty much right on the money to make it on fuel and everything, so I was good to go. Unfortunately, I think I kind of screwed myself out of the win just because I slipped in my box when we had to come down the second time for the caution. And then racing Kevin was a lot of fun. Just very, very tough to pass. I mean, the only way you were going to make a pass is if you could throw it to the outside of somebody, and hopefully it's stuck, basically. So, and then made that charge towards Connor. And then I wasn't expecting that one lap car to be as slow as he was on entry, and I had to hit the brake, and it just went straight into the wall. So once it hit the wall, I had nothing for him at that point. Yeah,
well, it was an impressive run there the last 20 to 30 laps or so. So when I don't know if any of us thought there'd be a 100-lap green flag run to finish this race. So, in the middle of that run, were you saving tires a little bit in case that happened? What was the mindset for you to be so fast in those last 20, 30 laps?
Yeah, there was a moment when Sean was in front of me and he was attacking Kevin. I was kind of just maintaining pace, trying to make sure I get the car rotated, point it, not really burn the right front off and try and save it. So hopefully at some point I would have a shot to make a pass on Kevin or whoever it was. And I finally had enough grip eventually to get around Kevin where I could actually get in the throttle and it stuck. And I was able to get around him on the outside. And then once I got around him, I took off. It was great from there.
Yeah, I was going to say, so, one of the things that we talked about quite a bit on the broadcast was, you guys were so close. No one was getting away from each other, and it was so hard to complete a pass on that inside. So walk us through that mindset when you're seeing that same front bumper for several laps in a row. And, do you think about maybe using the bumper at some point to make a move, even if it's not for the lead?
I'm the kind of driver, the only time I would ever use the bumper, like honestly, if I got to the corner there with under like 5-10 to go and I was trying to make a pass and I couldn't, I would have probably tried to use the bumper on him. But for the most part, other than going for the win, I mean, that's probably the only time I'd ever use it. I mean, like you saw with Kevin, I try and race clean, try and make a clean pass if I can.
Yeah, it was some good racing, that's for sure, up here in the booth. So, finally, I hope you have some good sponsors to thank. Wink, wink. Who do you need to thank, sponsor team, for your run tonight?
Mara Racing Network, obviously, as primary sponsor. We have Majors Garage, South Creek, Elwood Designs, and Battle Beaver as our sponsors. And of course, obviously, you guys for broadcasting.
Awesome. Well, thanks for giving us a show at the end. It was a nice run those last 20 laps, and really the whole race for you, Brandon. So, nice job. Good luck here as we go for the finale next week, and then off into the RSR Cup season here in a few weeks.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Well, Brandon made that pass on Kevin King for third place, and now we've got Kevin. So, Kevin, you definitely, you and Connor Horn had a battle for pretty much most of the second half of that race. Walk us through your night and kind of how it ended up here in third.
I kind of didn't really know what to expect, actually. Went in there with little to no expectations, hopefully to run top 5, and found myself in second pretty quickly for some reason. I tried to ride behind him. I was telling him earlier that I was trying to ride behind him and just run the low line, hoping it would pay off. But I think once Sean got up front, he got behind me and he was pushing a little bit harder than I wanted to go. And I think just staying behind Connor that long, just trying to turn the car too much behind him didn't help, and eventually caught up to me. But yeah, I mean, it was fun, but really frustrating because you knew like you could be a tenth or two faster than someone, you'd probably have a hard time passing him. And I think I had one or two chances, and just the way the car turned at the bottom, it didn't really turn at all. So I got there, and that was pretty much it. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And so I just kind of prayed for every lap car to come through and cause some commotion.
We were talking about that a little bit earlier. The lap traffic probably could play the biggest hand because you're all so even up front. We've seen a lot from you, Kevin, in your limited starts with us, that on the long run is really where you really make up time. So I doubt you maybe expected a 100-lap green flag run to end it at Lucas Oil Raceway, but were you kind of thinking maybe Connor can burn his stuff up if you put the pressure on in the first half of the run? And was that kind of what you were hoping and thinking? I'm sure you were hoping that was going to happen. Were you thinking that could happen at the end?
I mean, the way I was driving it, I felt like I was going in, with a decent amount of speed, but I wasn't on throttle or on the brake all the way through the center. So I was thinking, man, if I can just roll, natural throttle without actually doing anything, if the thing gets loose or tight or whatever, maybe I'll have a little bit more than he would. But it never really happened. We kind of just ran the same lap times forever, until the point where I felt like, the dirty air kind of roast your tires, and it just kind of caught up to me there. And I wasn't really expecting that, but it happened. yeah, but I did, I was setting up for the long run each time just to see what would happen. And apparently nothing was going to happen, but I had fun overall. It was still a good race.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun to watch. And, looking ahead, you've ran with us a few weeks now. We've got next week. What are your plans with Real Sim Racing? Do you think you'll be running next week and then the Cup season after that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously our Roto Pro is coming up here shortly. February 17th, I think, is our first race. So depending on realistically how that's going and how we're feeling, if we need to use time on Mondays to kind of do that. I know Daniel did the same thing last year and it was fine. But I'd like to just have different cars to drive. It gets really stagnant if you're just kind of running the same vehicle over and over and over. So to switch it up would be nice. I feel like, and I do have high expectations for our guys, not being able to go into a Monday and feel like we need to grind all night to try to find speed. But yeah, my plan would be to come back and race with these guys here, and hopefully Daniel and Dylan are here too, and have some fun, and then tag team the Roto Pro Series schedule that's coming out, and just really have some fun.
Yeah, that'll be great to see, especially the competition at the top. Obviously, you do great, and hopefully we get to see that. So before we let you go, who do you need to thank, sponsors, team, for your run today?
I'd like to thank the team. I know Liam couldn't be here tonight. It was unfortunate. He was going to have a good run, but all these guys that have been putting a lot of work in for this upcoming season, Evan and you for putting on the league and all this cool stuff, all the drivers, a lot of respect out there. I couldn't have told you. I probably thought that IRP at this track was just going to be a yellow fest, but we had one yellow, I think, and it was pretty ridiculous to see that. So kudos to everyone there. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. See, Outrun Esports, Team Associated, J Concepts, Ticket One Racing. That's RC car sponsors. Appreciate those guys for his help on the real life stuff. But I'm looking forward to the next race, which I believe is Vegas, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Okay. All right. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'll look forward to you lapping me, and I'll make sure that I stay low for you. So appreciate it. Yeah. All right. That's Kevin King. Been a really great addition to this series here in RSR in general, and I think Evan is back with us. And Evan, good race tonight for really the whole field. I was cleaner than we thought, and good race overall.
Yeah, I was super impressed with this one. As the fireworks go off, we kept the fireworks for post-race in the fireworks show as opposed to on track, right? Just looking at the results on my screen here, I mean, there's always a chance these races can get a little bit messy, right? We mentioned 13 caution flags last year. Only 3 tonight, right? So I'll echo what Kevin said. Drivers could have punted people, right? Could have got frustrated when they were stuck in line after 25, 30, in some cases 90 laps, right? Depending on who you're talking about. But I think everybody showed a decent amount of patience. This race certainly had its moments, its scares, its drama in terms of the championship. But as far as the on-track product, very impressed with the job that everybody did tonight. And congrats to Connor Horn, who's back at RSR Victory Lane. This is the story, though. To take away is the bad night for Michael Araya. A disaster scenario where he wrecks out early in the race and finishes all the way down the running order in second to last position. The battle for the championship has gone from a 13, Nick, to 37. Not technically a mathematical lock, but I'd put it at 99.9% that Andrew Freenosh next week will secure another Winter Series championship after having it stolen out from underneath him last season by Matt Dance, and Andrew looking for his 3rd title in 4 years.
Well, I think what today goes and shows you is that what Andrew does every year is impressive, right? I mean, it was just, Michael Araya needed to be perfect tonight. He didn't even get a chance to be perfect because of a not-so-stellar qualifying run, right? So Andrew just does everything right. It's so rare that he makes a mistake, and you see it here in the point standings once again. And next week should be pretty much a coronation unless something crazy happens, and obviously well-deserved if it does.
I feel bad for, Michael, how close he's come so many times, even on the Cup side of things. Finished 3rd in the Winter Series standings last year. Looks like he'll likely finish 2nd this year. You know, I mean, you got Ross Cato and Liam Sheen right there, so that's not a guarantee, but certainly Michael looking to improve on his personal best he set last year, I should say. And we go now into the last week of the season, Nick, with another trip to Vegas. That was a battle last year in the height of the championship, another race that Andrew Freenosh won. The win, though, last year was not enough to give him the title. Matt Danson would go on to win the championship by 2 points. As you mentioned, it could be a coronation for Freenosh if he could end it with a win.
Yeah, and you know, Vegas is it's not an easy track. You know, you're talking to somebody who struggled mightily the first time that we ran RSR last year. You know, turn 1 and 2 is just so bumpy. You never know if somebody makes a mistake underneath you and you're running the outside, or you make a mistake through those bumps. But Andrew's not going to make that mistake. So yeah, it'll be a good race no matter what. But it's looking very much like an Andrew Freenosh championship once again.
We're looking forward to deciding a championship next week at America's Racing Showplace in the entertainment capital of the world. We'll also have news on next week's broadcast about public registration for the 2022 RealSimRacing Cup Series. But until then, that is it for us here tonight from just outside of Indianapolis. On behalf of our entire team at RealSimRacing, for our partners at SimSpeed Shop, and the entire team at RaceSpotTV, and for your broadcast crew tonight. For our technical director downstairs, Hugo Luis, for Nick Ibarra, and myself, Evan Pasoko, in the booth. I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate the number 67 of Connor Horn back at RSR Victory Lane for the first time since 2019. We're back in 1 week's time for the season finale from Las Vegas Motor Speedway on Monday, January the 24th. That race and every race of the RealSimRacing SimSpeed Shop Winter Series can be found exclusively here on RaceSpot TV. Till next time, good night from IRP. We're Freenosh is one step closer to another Winter Series title.